It's Monday. It's February 26th, I think, 2024. I'm inside this, which is the United States of America, um, which is a monetary system with a Federal Reserve note, an ONE, and an In God We Trust. I suppose you could say I'm in the collective of we the people at the moment, just for perspective. White House, and so, and the flag. So I've got something going on underneath here. It's all swollen. So it's ghastly and unsightly. So I'm just putting my jacket up um, to just. I still have the broken leg or the broken ankle. Lewis this morning turns on. I did a piece this morning before anybody entered the residence in my quiet. I was thinking of the word country, or the word county. Both have the 5 letter word count in front. So then I'm like thinking of mathematics and science. And I'm like, and I was listening to Morgan Wallen, and he was singing this country song about TRY. And I'm like, oh, that's the upper and lowercase Greek gamma. And then I'm thinking, all right, so if the count is a function of a system in like principal mathematics, I was like, for management system of the body of the In God We Trust, for managing the we the people and knowing where those, like a self-analysis on a very rudimentary, like simpleton like level of being able to figure it out. um so I was pondering on the word, on the symbols, on what it means and purpose to it. um and then Lewis comes up, and I've been watching over like the sun light, or the perception. It's what they called it since I was a child. They call it sunlight. I now realize, because of NASA, and the Honorable Administrator Bill Nelson. Again, I don't know how to address him. Like in real life, I don't know what he goes by. So, I mean, it's what on the teleprompter, that's what the label says. And it doesn't have like Sir Bill Nelson. I mean, like there's no formality in it. It's very like, this is what your mom gave you on your birth certificate. That's what they put on the bottom of the banner. So like, I don't know how not, I don't want to disrespect, but then again, in the God with an ONE to a TWO, as an ELF with a ELEVEN in like subtext or like subscripts. I mean, like I have a message. So um so he puts on this thing called Inspire Nation. And what I learned from that, and I don't have the person's names, I took a photo of it. I will address it and put it on my Facebook page because, again, to give them credit as a reference, I just don't know what their names were. Um, I was listening, and I've heard like the spiritual woohoos, but I mean, like again, I'm careful. I'm always, I do more listening than I do talking and there's few quantum entanglements where I've gotten to a level where people come and speak to my face about this kind of stuff. So, channel surfing on the remote viewing, which is like the Verizon cable box. So, and today I think he did on YouTube. So he said, because he's around my father's age, that the way his route into NASA, because I have no idea how you get to NASA, is he had to enter the army, and then the army placed him, like chose his application and put him there. I'm in some kind of misconstrue. And then I noticed who, when I try to put in U.S. Army National Guard, like a rep, to ask for one, and then it comes back and it's not even like body proper of the order for which I'm supposed to. I have an RH sensitivity, so again, in whatever, that should just in an ABO group. Um, so there's that breakage in how would I have gotten to that level, because that's what's in Queens County functioning as some US Army. I mean, for me, it looks like a blockage or a blockade. And for me, that would be tactical since I wasn't able to get to where I needed to be. Um, it's not the first one I've encountered. Um, but the GOD at ONE and TWO needs to know as an elf with an 11. Um, and that's like at IPS level, I suppose, for the body of North America. Um, he says he has a placard and a US patent. I saw his face. I don't know his blood type or his blood group, but he still has the, again, whatever, but um he's the only one for the US. He says on this whatever, interdimensional communications. At the moment, that's good enough for me based on what the epigenetics of the blockade, the tactical blockade in New York is. Um, but I'm listening to this Inspire Nation, and he's speaking of this like, I mean, again, I listened to it with a filter of having discovered NASA propose this possibility of a QSO, whatever, quasar. And I know what I can capture with sunlight. I know that I'm in a fallout area. It says it on the telephone building, no less. Um, and I know how I'm feeling health wise, lack of quality of life, lack of quantity of life lived, and just like trapped here is what it feels like. Um, Knowing who my captor is at the tactical blockade and having documented that. Um, so, and stuck somewhere between the collective of we the people and the in God we trust governing body. Um, and so there's just all sorts of in the area smells, like gaseous smells. Um, and there's a whole bunch of other things within the matrix that I've documented on my individual POV. Um, and then I said, like, the Romer 1976 and the Tiafrio 1975 is part of the misconstrue and misconstructed. I mean, I'm RH sensitive, and I was a blooming flower who was going to give rise to biological clocks. I don't understand why, at the count for the kingdom of the GOD, I wasn't given higher priority and a better. I mean, I had such a beautiful, like, Coventry upbringing with the Vermillons and, I mean, like, all sorts of respectable people. I don't understand why, when it came to introduction to respectable male, why I was just like discarded and thrown into Queens. I mean, again, I'm RH sensitive, RH negative, but um or at least that's what the doctors, which are part of the problem, that's how they labeled it. Um so I don't know. So this morning they gave me some visual of what a red hat looks like, which is a complexity and a complexion set of issues, for which I don't characterize myself at or with, although they were also talking about color rectal cancer and I can't pronounce it. I wrote it. It's on Facebook. And then I was at birth in this area. There was astrological cancer that was growing across the street. Um, and We went two places, well, three places together, outside of New York, and that was it. Um, so I don't understand why I wasn't given a life worth living, why I was stuck in some subjugated quantifier in some larger experiment or equation. If quasar was, I mean, my head is really hurts this morning, along with like this bloating effect of whatever radiological. I mean, I heard yesterday they took a comedian, I forget her name. Like, that's how bad the memory is, and the connection within interplanetary with this level of photons. Like, it's almost like the body machina, the body machine isn't working properly in being able to connect to, I can at times connect to higher self, but um and through machine process, but um it's just all misconstrued, misconstructed, malformed, called a maelstrom. So anyway, he was watching this Inspire Nation, and I'm listening at how they're speaking of the light, they're speaking of this and that, and I'm like, okay, so I get that on the one part. Like, if I didn't know anything about quasars or the possibility of a quasar and a possibility of the photon disrupting the quality of life, living in some kind of, like, they call it black hole. Um, and then I listened to it with knowing that NASA put out this thing the other day of possibility of a quasar, and I've got this thing that I noticed with the sunlight, um, and I'm just like looking at it from like a machinist perspective, not only as like spirit, and then looking at it from like an incar. I mean, again, I'm working it at multiple levels, and um, and they call him uh, ascendant master was the proper title that they gave this gentleman. Um, I never got to even begin that way, or receive that level of blessing, because there was some kind of block, like tactical blockade at the US entry. So I, again, like, I mean, as far as rule keepers, it's one, like, this is the garden of the kingdom of God for our RH sensitive personnel. I mean, I should have been formally introduced, or like inducted into some way to find the level of cognitive, like in the cog of the machine, someone that I could connect with. Because 1970, Roma 1976 and Tiefero 1975, there is no connection whatsoever. It is like toilet paper on the bottom of your shoe that just follows you around. It's like you don't want it to touch you and you don't want to touch it and you just don't know how to like get rid of it. So this way you can move forward and get to like something that's worth connecting with. But that's just my experience with humanity within my life frame from 1978 until now in the state of New York. That's like the state of affairs, or the state of the what human experience did I go through. Doesn't really seem worth it, except if somebody's doing a forensic analysis for like deep rooted like issues. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.